Good morning, Vikes. I'm Carly.
I'm Hannah, and you're watching HNHS Today for Wednesday, March 22nd. Don't forget to vote for your favorite teacher in the Bucket Wars located in the main office. The winning teacher will get a pie in the face at the Riley Dance Marathon on April 8th.
Last year's yearbooks are available to pick up in room 114 or at lunch from the yearbook staff in the Commons.
There's a call-out meeting right now in room 709 for any girl interested in playing basketball next year. You will receive information about spring practices.
Let's go to weather with Parker.
Good morning, Vikes. This is Parker here with your weather today. As you can see, this evening it's going to be quite beautiful. High at 55 with a low of 35 as well. Could have some isolated thunderstorms likely, most likely in the northwest portions of the state. This rain is going to move through, but you can see here today, going to be quite a warm week. Could have a cooler start to our spring break, but regardless, we are going to warm up next week. Sunday, Monday, back into the 50s and some 60s next week as well. As you can see here, this is the chances for precipitation. As you can see, all across the northern parts of the state. Could see some thunderstorms come Thursday and Friday with the warm front that moves through. And you can see here the Storm Prediction Center in the next graphic does have us in a general thunderstorm risk, which could get upgraded to a marginal risk for an isolated chance for small hail come tomorrow morning. As you can see here, that marginal risk for a warm front out over portions of western Illinois in northeastern or northern Missouri. So watch out for a couple of thunderstorms here come this Wednesday and Thursday. Regardless, stay warm, bikes, get out and enjoy that sun.
Congratulations to the archery team for placing third at the Central Noble Invitational.
Here's Zach to give us another video game review.
NFL Pro Era is a virtual reality game that takes you onto the field as a professional football player. The game is designed for players who want to experience the thrill of being in the NFL with realistic graphics and motion controls that allow you to throw, catch, and run like a pro. One of the most impressive aspects of NFL Pro Era is the attention to detail in the gameplay mechanics, which really makes you feel like you're in the game. The motion controls are precise and responsive so you can make accurate throws and catches, and the AI opponents provide a challenging level of competition. The game also offers a variety of different game modes, including a career mode where you can work your way up the ranks and become an NFL superstar. Additionally, the game features a multiplayer mode where you can compete against other players online. Overall, NFL Pro Era is an excellent VR game for football fans. It provides an immersive and realistic experience that will appeal to both casual and hardcore players alike.
The AP Environmental Science class went to Florida for an educational experience with marine life. Let's learn more about their trip.
What is the AP Environmental Science class?
Well, one of the science opportunities for students here at Huntington North High School is to enroll in environmental science. And so we have AP Environmental Science here at Huntington North. And it's essentially an opportunity for kids to dig deeper into human interactions with our environment, causes of pollution, environmental monitoring. We cover a lot of topics, and so it's a year-long class that students can take, and then in May take the AP Environmental Science tests.
So you guys just came back from your trip to Florida, right?
Correct.
And how did you as a teacher kind of get that set up and get your kids ready for it?
Well, when I started teaching 30 years ago, and one of the goals that I had professionally was to take students on a living coral reef. I've been scuba diving since 1994, and I absolutely love the underwater world, and I wanted to share that passion, that interest with students. And so I always had in the back of my head that I wanted to give students that experience. And so last year I was asked to teach AP Environmental Science, and everything aligned perfectly so that we could set up this field trip to South Florida. And we were able to not just look at and be out on the coral reef, but we were actually able to do a few other things as well during the week-long trip that we were down there. We did get to do quite a few once-in-a-lifetime activities in South Florida. We flew into Tampa And then the first thing we did was snorkel with manatees. And it's not every day that you get to, come into direct contact with a threatened and endangered species. And so that was quite an experience. And if you did follow online, you probably saw some pretty phenomenal pictures and video of that. And so that was a good study in how humans are basically destroying the environment for these endangered species. Next thing we did is we went down to the Everglades National Park, learned about alligators and the sea of grass, and took an airboat ride and a tram tour through Everglades National Park. And then after that, we drove down to the Florida Keys, which is a chain of islands off the south tip of Florida. And we spent 4 days studying at Mote Marine Lab, which was our ultimate goal, is to get down there. We just had to throw in a couple activities along the way. Yeah, it was certainly an advantage having a smaller class, just because we could hire a van, we could stay in, have fewer hotel rooms and different things like that. But it's my understanding that the class is going to grow, and so we're still going to take a trip to South Florida next year, and hopefully every year that this course is offered. But it just changes some of the dynamics of transportation and hotel rooms and things like that, fundraising, all of those things change when you have a larger group. But it certainly was an advantage to have a smaller group. We could get into and out of restaurants really quickly, and we only had to take one boat when we went out of the reef and certain things like that. But I'm super excited to have other kids experience the same things that we did. It's for me personally, it's a joy to share those experiences with students so that they can really appreciate things that are going on in our environment.
So what does a student have to do if they want to be part of this next year?
That's Blaine, by the way, if you didn't catch that. For typically juniors and seniors, which are sophomores and juniors this year, just simply seeing your counselor and signing up for the class. It is an AP class. It's a challenging class. It's a speedy class, meaning that we cover a lot of topics in a short amount of time. But just talking with your counselor and seeing if this is something that you're interested in. And if you are interested in the environment, I would highly encourage you to do that, because these are topics that are near and dear to all of us, and they're topics that you can see and you experience every day. When you're driving downtown, for example, you can actually see what's happening to our environment. And so a lot of students like to have an AP class where they can actually see and experience the things that we're talking about. So, but again, if any of the students out there are interested in that, they can come talk to me. They can go talk to their counselor and get signed up for the class.
Our first day we were there, our first full day, I should say, we swam with manatees in the morning, and it was a lot of fun because Mr. Park had gone the December before, and they were like really sleepy and groggy, and so like they weren't active, but then when we went, they were super active, and they would like flip you out of the water. I know me and Hannah had gotten a couple tails to the face, as well as Ella. You don't really notice how big they are until you actually see them.
I would say a few of my favorite things were swimming with the manatees. We got to experience that, and just being around animals and the wildlife was really cool, and also snorkeling on the coral reef, which it's the third largest barrier reef in the world. So we actually got to stay at a lab where they were doing research on coral, and we got to learn a lot about like coral fragmentation and coral reef restoration. And they actually would take us into a classroom each day, and we would get to learn about like the different types of species that you would see on the coral reef. So we just got a lot of information about that, which was really interesting.
Definitely when we swam with manatees, that was one of the first things that we did. I feel like that was a very cool and once-in-a-lifetime experience. We also went to the Everglades. I thought that was very incredible to see and experience that type of ecosystem. And also when we went down into the Keys and snorkeled on the coral reef.
Next year, what's something you would tell them?
Well, I would say don't take this class for the wrong reasons. Take this class because you really want to understand the environment. Don't just take it because you want to go to Florida. We were just really lucky that we had a smaller class because our trip was very personal and we got to have a lot of like really interesting like experiences outside of science that were just like, you know, really fun. And if you go on this trip next year, because it will be a larger class, there will be less chances for that. So, you know, take the class because you really want to understand like the plight of our environment, not just because you want to go to Florida.
The JAG program is holding a hygiene product drive until tomorrow. Drop any products off in room 119. Any donations are appreciated.
Now let's go to Wyatt with sports.
For track and field on Friday, the boys 4x400 meter relay team of Braden Vaught, Noah Wagner, Caleb Royce, and Tony Decker, as well as the girls 4x800 meter relay team of Gracie Fields, Ella Goldklasser, Hannah Hopper, and Elle McDonald, both have qualified for indoor state, which will be on Saturday. The boys team had a time of 3 minutes and 37 seconds, and the girls team had a time of 10 minutes and 56 seconds. That's all for sports. Now let's go back to the desk.
Dylan and Charlie went to the St. Francis Art Show. He has a recap to give us an update from the show.
The 47th Annual High School Art Expedition for St. Francis is a high school show held by University of St. Francis. It's a collection of high school work from around the area and region, and it's not just from Indiana, but there's also pieces there from Ohio. There were several awards. 2 students won awards from St. Francis. They were Outstanding Artist Awards. So Dylan Palmer won Outstanding Artist in Animation for his piece of Inktober, a 31 panel story. And then Kyra Bear won Outstanding Artist in Illustration for her work in an ink and paint project. And those awards were actually chosen by the University of St. Francis art professors in their chosen fields. We had 10 participants this year from Huntington North. We had Brooklyn Scaff, Maeve Wilkinson, Phoebe Landrum, Cadence Reed, Penelope Harrell, Isabella Miller, Justice Runyon, and Jaden Stencher. There were several good pieces, and I had to think about this for a little bit, but I think one of my favorite pieces was entitled Jellyfish by Finley Recker from Snyder, and it was a graphite piece of a jellyfish. It was just really well done, and actually won first place, which was just under Best of Show.
Spring break is only a day away. We hope you have a great week off.
That's all we have this week, Vikes.
You'll see us in a couple weeks.
Wake up in the morning with someone but feeling alone. A heart is drawn around your name in someone's handwriting, not mine. Or sneaking out into town, holding hands, just killing time. Your past and mine are parallel